everybody, it's Romania Black and Huckleberry, Ruby, and my bro and I are here ready for episode 3 of One Piece. Yes! So excited. Tell no tales, dead men tell no tales.
Unless you're broke.
Which we won't get to him for a very long time. But yeah, the last episode, I liked episode 1 a little bit better than the last episode. The last episode was fine. I think pacing-wise, the first episode had a lot to get through. But last episode, I liked Buggy. I liked that we got through that whole arc.
It makes me a little excited to see how they did the other pirates that they're going to run into.
Yeah, because One Piece is very much a beat for beat, like it feels very reminiscent, which makes sense. It started in the 1990s. It makes sense. It feels like that 90s, like we have a villain, we've solved the villain, we move on to the next thing, but it has this big through thread that keeps going, right?
Well, for me, it's Buggy in the anime. He's a bit of a joke.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's a bit of a threat to begin with, but later down the line, he's just a complete joke to everybody.
Yeah,
but in this, they made him seem okay. He's crazy. He's a little bit psychotic.
But there is something to him, though. He's got substance. There's some depth to his character here,
and he knows how to use his powers the way the anime one didn't.
Yeah, because this series, this live action has to ride this fine line of we want to be as cartoony and faithful to the original as possible, but we also have to be accessible for people that are not used to an anime or a cartoon show and being like, well, why is this like this? Why are these snails here? Why are they phones? So you've got to kind of, it's a hard line to ride, and I think they're doing good so far. I like it so far. I mean, I'm sure that purists of the anime will have lots of complaint. You watch a lot of complaint reactions. I don't at all.
I just like to see what like small thing ticks somebody off.
Right? Yeah. Like I think CinemaSins was the only thing that I watched that was like complain worthy. But usually I'm kind of like, oh come on, and then I complain for like an hour about something.
Well, for the transponder snails, at least be glad that it doesn't look like the little girl turned into the Chimera like in the Full Metal Alchemist.
We're gonna not bring that up. And that's where we cut the intro. So, but yeah. You're like, let's get on with this. But yeah, I think overall, I think there's going to be people complain about it. It's like that with any show. But is it perfect? No. But is it much better so far than I thought it was going to be? Oh, hell yes. Like, it could have been so much worse. So I'm excited to see what we get in this episode. We talked about when the reaction got over, like our thoughts and theories, kind of like we did in the reaction of where we think the show is going. I'm excited. We'll talk about the characters afterwards. I know you are very excited about the character we're possibly going to come into more. So my brother is smiling the biggest smile you can possibly. One of the biggest smiles. We'll talk about it afterwards. My brother, if the character shows up that we think is going to show up, my brother is like one of their favorite characters. So yes, very excited. But we're not going to waste any more time. We are going to dive into this and see what we get. So I hope you all are excited. We very much are. But we are going to dive into One Piece, the live action, episode 3. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Well, I didn't think it was going to be a two-parter, did you?
No.
No, I thought that it was all going to get wrapped up pretty succinctly, but I guess it makes sense that if we're combining it with stuff with Garp and everything, that they'd make it a two-part story. I'm sure they'll finish it up next part. But
Marines never came to that island while they were...
I don't think in the manga they did they?
No.
No. Which we talked about last week, that Garp and Kobe's storyline is kind of advancing further along, like the manga than it has been in the manga or anime, which I'm fine with because it's fine what it is. You know, if you don't want that experience, go read the manga and wait till you get to like chapter 400 before you have all that start happening. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm okay with it. I like it because it's going to be like, okay, we don't know exactly what to expect now. Now that some storylines are starting to merge, we're not going to be exactly sure what to expect with the story and what we're going to get and how Kobe and Garp's involvement is going to affect things. Was the soup in the manga too?
No, in the manga, he was going to use a hypnotist, Django, to hypnotize her into writing the will, then having his pirate crew attack the village.
Yeah, so we get the notion that Kuro is a pirate. He's been fooling Kaya this whole time, acting like her butler when he's really part of the Black Cat Pirates. Yeah, in the manga there's a character named Django. I don't know if he's going to show up or if they're going to make a cameo with him.
It doesn't look like they're doing that because he would have met Django before he killed Mary.
Yeah, okay, so that timeline doesn't exactly add up. Which I know the Django enthusiasts will be like, how dare you not feature Django the pirate, the hypnotist, but I was never really attached to Django, so I remember him because a lot of people parodied his involvement, but I think Nun Piece had, like, it was Christopher Walken, like, the accent they had, like, oh, the Kuro, the Nun Piece.
I still think we should go with our plan.
Yes, you do a much better Christopher Walken impression than I do. But yeah, I'm fine with him not being there. But yeah, now that he's not involved and they're doing the poison soup and the tea stuff instead, which I'm sure the tea has poison in it too. It's slowly killing her because, of course, it's the blue tint like the soup. Since they're doing that storyline instead, I don't know how they're gonna. I'm sure Luffy's going to expose its poison. How he cannot be poisoned, or everything in like his stomach's rubber, so it just like doesn't absorb, or how
he's always had like a strong immunity to poisons, like poisons that they say are going to kill people in minutes. He's held off for like almost an hour.
Yeah, so maybe that will come into play next episode. I want to talk in the spoiler corner a little bit about that when we get to it, about that whole notion. But yeah, he's drinking the soup that we think is poison. He'll probably figure out it's poison and then be like, oh, Kaya, the stuff you're drinking and eating, it's slowly killing you. And then she'll be like, but why would Kuro be slowly killing me? And then it's like, haha. I guess this maybe isn't a spoiler, I don't know, but in the actual series, I think Mary lives, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, he lives in the original.
In the original, he gets stabbed by Kuro. Mm-hmm. Kuro goes to meet with the pirates because they're behind on schedule because of Luffy and them. Mm-hmm. Kaya comes downstairs and she finds Mary. Mm-hmm. She tends to his wounds and then he tells her Kuro is a traitor.
Yeah, and then it goes kind of from there. This makes it believe, well, at first it makes you think, oh, well, Mary's dead. They just threw him in a well. But then they throw Zoro in the well. But I'm like, I don't think Zoro's dead. Obviously, he can't be. But that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting because we talked about it last episode. This series treats the wounds and stuff fairly seriously. And I mean, he got stabbed like right through the chest with the blades. Seemed like he was dead. So are they going to apply anime logic or are they going to be like, no, he's dead?
It could have, but at the same time, it could have gone like around the heart because the blades were like.
Right, they were like this. What do you think of Kuro?
I think we got someone who's pulling a brilliant, like, I am an evil mastermind. Everybody else around me is an incompetent moron.
I really like the guy playing Kuro. Like, the moment we saw him come down with Kaya, like, in his arms, I was like, oh, he's perfect. He's Kuro. That's exactly like, that's the thing. So far, the villains that they've hired to play, they're very Shakespearean in that they're over the top and very theatrical, but that kind of fits with the cartooniness of the show. It's great. I really like the actress that plays Kaya. Because Kaya, she's not a very big character in the series. She's got a fairly small part, but they give her a lot of heart in this. And they give her, like, she's a great representation for Nami's character to show her that just because you're rich doesn't mean, like Luffy suggests that Kaya's lonely, and Nami's like, oh, rich people aren't lonely. And Luffy's like, sure it is. You know, that infectious personality. Now, we'll talk about spoilery stuff at the end of this, but I have to ask, because Usopp is one of your favorite characters in the whole series, what do you think of our actor playing Usopp?
I think he does a good job. He's got that, I'm going to tell a lie, at the same time, I can go and run you if you try to get me for it.
Yeah, I think Usopp, and God, the whole thing with his mom dying and being sick, and then Kaya being sick, it's like, damn, Usopp can't catch a break. And I love the boy cried wolf vibe, which makes perfect sense why they don't believe him with Kuro, and it makes sense, it ties narratively up with everything. But I love that Usopp's not one of my favorites, but I like that this actor, he has like, because Usopp can be kind of goofy, and he's kind of goofy, but there's a heart behind it, like a seriousness behind it.
He's been mostly the comic relief of the group. His strategy of constantly like shooting, running, and then just throwing a gag in there.
Yeah, which we haven't had the opportunity to see in this series yet because he's not gotten the chance to be like we've seen that he has the slingshot,
and we've seen his skill with the slingshot.
Yes,
bouncing it off the pan down into the little cauldron.
But we haven't got to see it in action yet. Right now, Luffy is primarily the comic relief. As he should be. Luffy's just like.
But it looks like the two are going to be good friends.
Yes. And I like, honestly, in this episode, I really like the dynamic between Luffy and Zoro. Because I think that's so understated. Like, it's such an iconic bond, Zoro and Luffy, which doesn't seem possible. Like, you'd be like, Zoro's so serious. Like, why would he get along with Luffy? But, like, when they both go towards the kitchen, he's like, I need a drink. Luffy's like, I need some food. I'm like, that's straight out of the manga. Like, the two of them bonding over food and drink. And that they have nothing else in common but this one thing, and it works somehow, right? It just works really, really well. We talked about the little transponder snail at the very at the end of the last episode. I loved the idea that it's just like choking on water. The little snail's like and that way she can't communicate with Arlong anymore, which means that's why he goes after Buggy. What do you think of Arlong?
He's got just enough menacing to him right now. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, you can tell he thinks himself superior. Yes, yeah, the voice is great. The voice is perfect. Like, I picture Arlong having that gravelly, gruff voice. And the nose is a little tiny bit comical, only because in the manga it's like a huge, big, like, razor sword shark nose. But it's fine. It's still menacing. The manta ray guy's there. We'll talk about that in Spoiler Corner. He's there. I liked Arlong a lot. I think his character is well portrayed at this point. It's nice to get a visual of him early on because we know he's going to basically be the big bad of this season by the end of it. Garp and Kobe. I love we get Helmeppo and Kobe like interacting with one another so far. I just love Garp and Kobe's relationship developing. It's like Garp's taking on Kobe like a grandson. He's just taking Kobe on like a grandson, you know, that he can raise. But I love the idea of him just spending all his time. Every time I hear his voice though, I think of Scrooge McDuck. Like it's I don't know if it's Irish or Scottish. It almost seems Scottish. I'm not as familiar. I'm sure somebody in the comments is going to be like, it's not Irish, it's Scottish. And I'm like, yes, you are correct. But it sounds like Scrooge McDuck. I picture him wading through his little pit of money and all that. I love his ship with the dog tag. The only thing that I would critique about this episode is this scene with the weird fishbowl lens. Like, why are they doing the weird fishbowl lens? I think they're trying to point out, like, more attention to Zoro. Yeah, it's just a weird choice. Kind of like in manga, they'll have the main character and then they'll have, like, the background characters be just a little bit blurry. I guess. It's just a weird... They only do it this one time, but it just feels like an iPhone lens. It's a weird choice. I don't know why they do it. It only happens like once or twice in the episode. It's a weird decision. That's the only part that I was like, that seems kind of cheap. Why are we doing that? But I do love, like, for people that don't know, the outfits that the characters are wearing. If they're not their iconic outfits, they are outfits from the color spreads that Oda did. Like, he did a spread with Luffy in the Hawaiian shirt like that. Like, I love the idea of them trying to be like, okay, well, fashion-wise, what can we do? We'll just pull from the color spreads. There's, like, hundreds of them to choose from. I love that they're doing that. That's so clever, and it's so cute. What do you think of the merry-go, the ship? I think it's wonderful. The ship. It's the OG ship. It's... It's impressive enough. It's a real set. Yeah. It's not CGI. They made it to where it's and introduced it in a way that's amazing to newcomers and just gives nostalgic to the original fans. I know. The fact that it is a full-blown, full-sized ship, I'm like, yes, that they just made the merry-go. I was like, I love it. I love Luffy, like, symbolically touching the ship, like, that connection, and Usopp's the one that he sees on it. I'm like, yes. And I love Luffy being like, we're not going to steal a ship. We're going to get it the right way. And you just know as the audience member, like, at first you're like Nami, and you're like, that's not going to happen. And then as the episode goes on, you're like, he's going to actually convince this girl to give him this ship. I was like, it's going to actually work out for him. Like, go Luffy, right? Look at him. I like the dynamic between Luffy and Usopp already. I think it works perfectly. Kobe just I like that you clarify because I'm like, Kobe looks terrified the entire time that he's with Garp, but
he was tortured by Alvida and is naturally, he starts out as a coward and his journey is to become the Marine that he wants to. Look at the bears. The bears that are like there. There's like a panda and a bear that's like the garden there. That's
the Panda Man.
Yes! Oh, that's Panda Man! That's the sign! I wonder if the last 2 episodes had it.
They always had a guy that looked like a panda hidden somewhere among the crowd.
That's it. Oh my god. Yeah, that was whenever... I haven't done it in the longest time, but I remember in some of the earlier arcs, like one of my favorite things was to try to find Panda Man, like in the crowd of the chapter.
Funny thing is, they made a little spin-off of One Piece where Luffy is a, like, Edo-style police officer.
Really?
Yes. And in one episode, they kidnap a girl's grandpa just to find out that it's the panda guy everybody calls grandpa.
Oh my god.
So they got arrested for kidnapping.
Oh my god. Well, the noticing now the shrubbery is the panda. So now I kind of want to go back to episodes 1 and 2 and be like, was the panda in the background and we just did we miss the Panda Man from the first 2 episodes? Because that's such a great little cameo. That is a deep cut. That's deep lore. Like if you're getting the Panda Man involved, that is like such a Easter egg.
It was also a game in the Mario Party style One Piece game they had for the PS1.
Oh.
And it was like a Where's Waldo, and you had to like race to find the Panda Man among the crowd of people.
Oh my god. Now Sham and because you in the episode were like, oh my god, it's them.
It's the Cat Brothers, Sham and Butchie.
Sham and Butchie are the Cat Brothers, right?
Yeah, they in the anime they didn't appear until like Django was like, ah, crap, we're starting to get really late here. You two get out here and handle them. And the 2 of them together, like, stole two of Zoro's swords, and they were starting to massacre him.
Yeah, so that was like a nice little foreshadowing of the cat pirates that they're there with the crew, with Kuro working. What I really like is that, again, Oda in One Piece, some of the citizens are like humanoid. They're which it's such a weird thing. Like there's a ram man, there's people that are part lion, but then they're considered human, but then the fish people are the ones that we gotta watch out for. like the fish people are the ones that are different. But yeah, I like that in this series to compensate, they don't make it so cartoonish. Like the ram man, like Mary has to have the sheep features. But here, like the Cat Brothers, they're distinct, you know who they are, but they don't necessarily look like cats.
I think part of the reason why they're afraid of the fishermen is because you got a world that's like 90% ocean, and then you have people who can survive underwater where everybody else has to travel by ship. Yeah,
there's that clear separation there, and the series gets really into that and delves deep into the systematic, the oppression, the prejudice, the class differences, all that fun stuff. But it is kind of humorous to me that we have people that are, humanoid animals.
Which means it's got to be worse if they eat a devil fruit.
Oh, yeah. And then Kaya and Kuro, God, yeah, they just look so good. They're so great. And Zoro noticing him and recognizing him the whole time. It's great. I like the closet scene. I like the outfit, that part of it. I like Kuro just being, like, obviously villainous.
Luffy having, like, no other intentions towards Nami other than they look like Nami.
Yeah, no, I think that there's a big running speculation that Luffy, and I totally agree with it, is, like, Luffy is, like, asexual. He's not interested in anybody. I want to ship him with a character we've not met yet, but it's pretty one-sided, and I know that, but I'm like, Luffy's not interested in anybody except food.
I got a science explanation for it. His brain is rubber.
No,
your brain uses electrical signals to tell you things.
And so they're just not firing on all cylinders.
They're struggling with what little they have.
Look, I think it's fine if Luffy is the asexual patron of One Piece. It's fine if he doesn't want to be with anybody. That's totally great. I'm all for it. But I just love that, Luffy's like, I don't have any reaction. And Nami's just like, fine. Whenever we get to a certain character, I'm going to be very interested in seeing how they handle Nami's character.
Oh, that's very down the line.
I'm so excited, but we've got to get there first. But yeah, I like that the little hints of Kuro just being as villainous as we thought. I thought, honestly, when we had the dinner scene here, because things are a little bit different than the anime and manga, I thought that Usopp and Luffy were going to get poisoned right from the start with the food, but it's really the soup and the tea that have the poison in it. I thought they were going to poison them all, but then that didn't happen.
I think Kuro modified his plan there to make those guys appear as the culprits.
To make them appear as the killers when she dies, and he can blame it on them because they're strangers and everybody in the village knows Kuro. Yeah.
And nobody would believe Usopp.
Exactly. So that all tracks. I like Nami with the red kimono. That looks very much like, I think I've seen the color spread where that is the case. And Kaya with the outfit. It's really good. I like the room that they're in the dinner scene with all the plates. It's such a weird set piece. I kept thinking we're going to go back to this room and they're just going to destroy all the plates. It just seemed like a set piece that was designed so they could just wreck it later. Like they'll go back to that kitchen and just wreck all the plates and there'll be plates flying through the air.
I think that might be the case. They may, Usopp or Luffy may like use the plates.
Yes.
To like throw Kuro off with his speed.
And with the slingshot too.
Because in the anime, he's shown that his speed's impressive, but when he goes any further than with that speed, he becomes reckless and wild.
Yeah, so I kept thinking, looking at that room with all the plates, I'm like, they're just going to smash it. It's like it exists to be wrecked. And I guess we'll see next episode if they end up doing that or not. I also would get back to Kuro, go back here. The whole thing with Mary, the sheep. I liked how they condensed that. They condensed that whole relationship. Him being like, it's awfully suspicious of you to suddenly on the eve of her 18th birthday want to switch over ownership of the shipyard to you. Like, just condensing that storyline. If you've not seen Nun Piece, please go watch the Nun Piece because Mary and Nun Piece is just so damn funny. I was watching that entire episode thinking of him.
You know what calmed me down? A little bit of hay.
A little bit of hay.
A little bit of hay. I didn't
want to talk about it in the reaction because I was like, oh, I'll get on a tangent and then we'll be able to stop it, right? We get Zoro and Luffy bonding. What did you think about Kaya and Nami bonding? I liked it.
I think it's good. It gives Nami more character. Like, she started to see with Luffy, not all pirates are the same, and now she's seeing that not all rich people are the same.
Yes, Nami has a very preconceived notion of how people are, and she's so far been reinforced by those beliefs. And so this is a nice, like, she's getting her worldview expanded upon, right? Getting it expanded upon. And then, yeah, we have all the deal with Luffy, and I'm like, I ship Usopp and Kaya so hard. And when they were like, oh no, we're just friends, I'm like, bullshit, you're just friends. And then as the conversation goes on, Usopp's like, wait a minute, like, she's really pretty and smart. Like, maybe does she like me? And I was like, oh no, Usopp.
You're asking a rubber simian and a sword nut relationship advice.
The worst people to ask relationship. Like, Luffy doesn't like anybody, and Zoro just likes booze and swords. So I just also love that, like, the big joke in the fandom is that Kaya, like, friend zones him so hard. She's like, let's just be friends. He's like, but Kaya! I love it. I love it. I root for them. I would root for Usopp to come back at the end of One Piece and be with Kaya. I would root for that. I don't really ship Usopp with anybody else. So I like him and Kaya together. And then, yeah, the Marines are getting involved. Zoro's gotten knocked out. And the two bumbling minions are supposed to finish the job. I'm glad they gave Zoro his swords. It's a good job. We got to keep Zoro with his swords. And then we get just a little bit of Usopp there at the end. So, fun times.
I can almost imagine Zoro coming out of that well. Luffy and Usopp looking at him. And Zoro just pulling like a Brock Sampson from the Venture Brothers. They hit me with a bottle of wine.
Yeah!
They hit me with a truck.
That would be a great reference. That would be awesome if they'd edit that. I'd love that. Well, I do want to talk spoilers a little bit. I want to talk some spoilers for the rest of the season and with some of these characters. So I'm glad that we made a connection with Usopp. That's in Shanks' crew. Glad we point that out now, in case if people weren't paying attention last episode. Because if you didn't know, you wouldn't know that Usopp and Usopp were... I mean, you could probably make the connection, but I'm glad they just went ahead and said it. So that we don't have to be like, oh, who's this mysterious guy who has a name like Usopp? And is also a marksman. Oh. I'm glad we got that out of the way. So, if you're not sticking around for the spoiler corner, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. We're going to talk a little bit of spoilers and do that. But in the meantime, if you're not sticking around, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll see you all next week for the second part of this two-parter of One Piece. So, okay, so spoilery talk here. I'm very excited when we get to Nami and Sanji. Just like, from the clips I've seen on Twitter, like the previews, Sanji seems like so flirty, and I'm like, oh, that's going to be amazing. Because Zoro is like, none at all. Zoro's like nothing. He's just like,
I want to see how they do Sanji's fighting style.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I've seen him kick once in it with his legs. But that's all I've seen. It was like one case. He saved Zoro with a kick, and then he's like, I saved your ass. He's like, no, I saved your ass. And because Zoro and Sanji hate each other. So, hate each other in big, bold quotation marks. But yeah, I'm super excited to see how this thing with Arlong goes. Was Buggy involved with Arlong?
No. Arlong just ruled over Nami's village.
Yeah, Arlong wasn't like this big bad gangster guy with all the other pirates, right?
No, he kind of he actually has a lower bounty than Don Krieg.
Yeah, and Don Krieg,
because he keeps himself low to the ground until he's ready.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that he's involved with Buggy, I guess. I mean, with an actor playing Buggy like that, I can see why they want to keep him in the storyline. Like, you're doing a great job as Buggy. Let's just keep you in this somehow. But again, the fact that the Marines are getting involved, Kobe and Garp's relationship, Arlong's with Buggy, they are changing some things, and I'm excited to see what they do with it. I don't feel bad about it at all. I think it works fine.
I almost want to see if Arlong's going to pay Don Krieg a visit.
Mm-hmm. To connect everything together.
Yeah, because obviously he doesn't know about Kuro. Kuro's kept himself hidden.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad that we had that poster, which now makes sense, and they explained it in the episode about Morgan and him making the deal. So I'm glad they just got that out of the way now. But yeah, I'm curious what all. It makes me excited to watch because I'm like, oh, and I'm just now noticing in the One Piece logo that Usopp's nose is like, they extended it. They made the skeleton nose.
They made the Pinocchio.
They made the Pinocchio nose. I like Usopp a lot in this. He's great. He's a good character. I'm trying to think of anything else like with Kuro, and I don't think they're gonna introduce Django either at this point. I think they're gonna keep him out of it. I don't know what he could do. The Marines are there at this point.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's. I'm gonna be curious to see how Kobe and the Marines get involved, if they're gonna like reveal that Luffy and they really want to reveal that Garp is Luffy's grandson. There's so many moments in this episode where it was like you could tell Garp's like attached on to Kobe. He's like the grandson I never had. He's like,
you could tell the obvious. Oh my god! When he sees the flag.
He sees the Jolly Roger. Yeah, when Garp sees the Jolly Roger, he's just like, oh, yep, that's my grandson. That's him. Yep.
At least it ain't the horse with the Zumba again.
Right. I was just like, oh my god, no. And there's a moment where Garp's like, Garp clearly worries about Luffy in his own weird way. But like, he's just like, oh, this is the grandson I want. Kobe's the grandson that Luffy can never be. Now, going back to Luffy and the poisons, do we think that it has to do with the forest and him being brought up in the forest with Sabo and Ace? Because didn't they eat a lot of like poisonous stuff in the forest and gain like immunity to it?
Garp's training in this for Kobe is play this board game with me. I'm going to teach you how to have more confidence in yourself.
Yeah.
His training with Luffy was, okay, Luffy, I'm going to throw you in this forest for a week. You're in charge of your own food.
Right? You know what it reminded me of? And I'm going to wave my hand until I'm done with Attack on Titan spoilers, but it reminded me of the difference between Grisha and Zeke and Grisha and Eren. Where Grisha and Zeke was like, you have to become this monster. And Eren's like, well, we're not really going to do anything like that. like Garp has learned his lesson from Luffy, and now he's like being like, well, maybe with Kobe I can do this.
If I'm supportive and not throwing him into dangerous situations every week,
oh my god,
he may want to stay a Marine.
Oh my god, yeah! If I don't tempt him if he doesn't want to be a pirate, so this might work out. Oh my god, yeah. I wanted to say with the manta ray that comes in, he has the brand on him. He has the sun brand of the Sun Pirates.
Now, does he have... What... Is there fins on his arms? Or?
Let me look here. I think... Are they on his arms? Yeah, they're on his arm.
Okay.
But... that's not Hachi.
No, that's not Hachi. That's a Kurobo.
Okay, it's Kurobo.
Yeah,
okay.
he's the martial artist.
Ah.
He's the one Sanji will fight.
Okay, that's what that is. Okay. But he has the Sun Pirate tattoo on him from that that
Fisher Tiger.
Yes, Fisher Tiger had. So I like that little detail.
Marco like the Celestial Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest a-holes in the universe.
Oh my god, we don't see any Celestial Dragons at this point.
We do not meet any until Saburi.
Oh god, that's a long time away. Which, who knows? The way they're condensing everything, we may meet them at any point. I don't think till season 2, but not looking forward to the Celestial Dragons. Also, what a move for Garp to name his son literally after the Celestial Dragons, but doing it in a way where it's like, my son's named after them, but he's going to become the leader of the Revolutionary Army. Garp's just got all these rebellious family members, and Kobe's like the one that wants to be a true Marine like him, and he's like, I adopt you. Like, screw my son and my grandson. I want you, Kobe.
Ace and Sabo.
Oh my god, I do.
So one out of 5. 1 out of 5.
Yeah, I can't tell you how much I love the dynamic between Kobe and Garp. It's so sweet and cute. I adore it. It's the cutest thing ever. I'm all for it. And then, yeah, I like that we get Nami and Zoro's relationship developing with Luffy. Luffy and the merry-go. Because she ends up giving them the ship, right? That happened
for saving them and taking Usopp with them.
Everybody on the island's like, get Usopp out of here! Take the ship and go!
He goes with them, and they get a sniper.
You and God Usopp. Oh my god. Ridiculous. I just can't.
Flamingo obviously had superior observation hockey because he saw the level of threat Usopp was.
Doflamingo is like another one of the villains that I can't wait to see them cast because he has such an iconic look and he's so over the top. But
you gotta find somebody who could really pull off like a big feathery coat.
I think that they'll have no problem finding somebody to do it because the people they've got for Kuro and Buggy so far have been amazing. So I have no doubt they're going to find somebody to play Doflamingo and do a good job with it, right? I think it'll be great. I like that there's like these little crazy, creepy, like Alice in Wonderland flowers and stuff, that some of the set pieces are just weird enough that they make you think that this is kind of a fantasy world. And then Usopp and her. I love it. I like the closet almost looks like, I don't know, like something out of not a red light district, but like out of a shady, I don't know. It looks very interesting. It looks like something you wouldn't see just in a mansion. All right, and then we have them playing Go. I don't know. Is there any other spoilery things that you can think of with this episode? With where you think it's going to go?
They took Buggy.
They did take Buggy. Yes.
So we might be seeing Buggy once more.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think they're going to keep Buggy throughout this season. I think that he's going to be a through piece because they've established he knows Shanks, so there's a tie to that. They've established he knows Arlong, and he's kind of like, he's also like inadvertently becoming a messenger for Luffy and spreading the word about Luffy, which is funny because that's what Luffy wants, is to become notorious, and Buggy's only helping Luffy steal the spotlight from him. I'm like, why are you telling him about Luffy? You want to be in the spotlight.
You have to remember, he was a member of Roger's crew. He could have admitted that.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, that points a very big, dangerous light on you.
Oh, yeah, Buggy's not going to say I'm in Gold Roger's crew. No.
Buggy's more of the not very threatening light, something that's going to make me stand out, but at the same time isn't going to burn me.
Mm-hmm.
Luffy's, if he went with Luffy's level, he'd just come out and say, hey, I was part of Gold Roger's crew. I know where the One Piece was.
Yeah, which Buggy doesn't know.
He was sick. But
yeah, he was sick.
He knows the general location. He would have been able to see, like, an island or two before that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's fascinating. I like the idea that Buggy's staying in this because I like his actor, and I think he does a good job, and I like the idea of Buggy just... I feel like by the end of the season, Buggy will be like, wait a minute. Why has he gotten more famous? It's like, well, of course, why do you think, right? Why do you think? So yeah, I like I like the development with Nami and her character. You could tell whenever she was talking about losing her family, it's like, okay, we're getting back to Nami and that she's gonna lose her mother figure. I called her Mary Bell in episode 1, but it's Belmere. It's Belmere, the mom that she lost. Lots of matricide in this series. Oda couldn't help but notice.
Well, the fathers are hardly even there to kill.
Oh yeah, I know, right? Like the parental guidance in this series, it's kind of reminiscent of like a kid's story anyway, where like usually in a kid's story the parents aren't there, it's all the kids doing things themselves and being self-sufficient. That's kind of taken up to a level here. I like the Usopp and Zoro dynamic developing alongside Luffy. I like that. That's gonna be fun to see. I just can't wait to see Sanji in the mix of all this. Sanji's seeing what I've seen of him and his character. I can't wait.
They got a wine cellar.
You're
just now telling me.
Yeah, I know. Zoro's so good in this. I love Zoro's attitude. Just been like,
if we're gonna talk about this, I need drink.
I know. Zoro he's just great. I love his character so much. And then how do they end up defeating Kuro remind me again, how do they defeat Kuro in the original?
In the original, Luffy throws him off his game by telling him that Usopp's a better pirate because he's got conviction. Right. Kuro was a coward who ran from the sea.
Yes.
And then he backhanded him in the mountain before wrapping his limbs around his arms and legs. And then just headbutting him really hard.
I could see Luffy throwing Kuro into a mountain in this storyline. I could see that if they do the CGI with it.
But that was at the same point where he was pretty much feeding Axam Morgan his own foot.
Well, that's true.
So that's why I said when you brought up the plate room, they could use that room for like Usopp using his sniper skills to like throw him off.
Yeah, if they ended up using the plate room as the final set piece and that's what they used to defeat Kuro and they like knock him out somehow with that, I could see that happening. I could see them
because for the earlier parts, they like didn't do like one-on-one battles with people. They were more like, let's team up and go after the guy.
Yes, and I think it would tie with when Kaya said it was gaudy. She was like, oh, there's a lot of gaudy stuff in here. I could see like them throwing in a joke and being like, when they destroy the plates, she's like, oh, well, it looks much better now that these gaudy plates are gone. And it's like, ha ha, but shish. I can get rid of all of it. I could see that. That's really good. I did see one thing on the map, the animal islands. Do you think they're going to go to that?
Not with what they've got. I mean, I think that's just a reminder of it.
The island of rare animals. I'm like, I don't think we've invested that much.
I don't think anybody wants to be stuck in a chest.
No.
The entire show.
No. I was like, I looked at that point of the map. I was like, ooh, I don't think we're going there in this season. I think we're gonna gloss over that and be like, well, that was a nice thing. See, wasn't that fun? No. Let's go. Let's move on from that. Yeah. I agree entirely. But no, I really liked this. This was a lot of fun. I can't believe we're doing a 2-parter. I really honestly thought we were going to wrap it all up in one and get the merry-go, but we've got the Marines involved now. And
the Marines are pretty much on their tail.
Well, they're there. They're like literally there with Usopp now. So it's like...
I like how that just came back on Nami when she said, you made sure to get rid of the boat. There's no way they're going to find us.
Yeah. And then the Jolly Roger. Yes.
Had she gotten rid of the Jolly Roger?
I mean, what I love is that it looks like it was made on Microsoft Paint. They just printed it out, and here it is. It looks exactly like the manga, but it's just it's so hideous. I love it so much.
Luffy, what is this? It's a horse doing Zumba.
This series is so endearing to me so far, and Huckleberry's being such a pain. But this series is so endearing because it's just hitting all the right little beats, and it's just fun. It gives me warm fuzzies watching this, being like, these are all the highlights of One Piece from what I remember, but we're just making it concise and succinct, and I'm all for it. That's so cool. So yeah, any other spoilery things?
No.
Not yet? No. We recorded this a day after episode 2 because I've got to be out of town next week, so we've got to wait a whole week or so to find out part 2. Dang it. We might watch it like the week I get back after that trip and do that. Might not wait a whole week and a half, but I'm really excited. I want to see how this wraps up. And now that we've got some unknown elements, it's going to be neat to see how it all comes together. But I'm really excited to hear y'all's thoughts down below. I really enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed this more than episode 2. As much as I liked episode 2, I thought that this one had a lot more going on in it, and I liked it. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts down below. But in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll be back next week. We both will be back next week to look at episode 4 of One Piece.